I remember the day I moved to this quiet suburb as if it was a scene from a movie. The suburban neighborhood, with its eerily identical houses and perfectly manicured lawns, appeared as an idyllic retreat. It was the sort of place where days melded into each other, uneventful, yet peaceful. That was until an anomaly broke the monotony. A black cat with eyes like glowing emeralds. The first encounter was on a tranquil evening. I was sitting by the kitchen window, the blue glow of my laptop casting a ghostly aura in the dimming light. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, struggling to weave words into stories. That's when I noticed it. The cat, perched on the garden fence, its fur absorbing the fading sunlight, creating a silhouette that seemed almost spectral. But it was its eyes that transfixed me, an intense green that shimmered with an otherworldly light. Initially, I dismissed it as a peculiar but harmless neighborhood stray. However, as days stretched into weeks, its presence became a constant fixture in my daily life. The cat was always there, lurking at the edge of my garden, on the sidewalk during my evening strolls, or under the pale glow of the streetlights. It watched me, its gaze never wavering, unblinking, and piercing. It was as if it wasn't merely looking at me, but through me, peering into a part of my soul I didn't know existed. The neighborhood's reaction to the cat was what intensified my unease. I attempted casual conversations with my neighbors about it. Their reactions were uniformly peculiar. A stiffening of posture, a fleeting look of dread in their eyes, followed by hurried, mumbled excuses to end the conversation. It was as if the cat was a harbinger of unspoken truths, a dark secret collectively acknowledged but never addressed. What truly unnerved me was not just its constant surveillance, but the air of expectancy that seemed to surround it. The cat never meandered or played. It didn't hunt or display typical feline behaviors. It just watched me, its unblinking emerald eyes a steady, unnerving presence. At night, the feeling of being observed intensified. I would catch glimpses of it through my window, its eyes two luminescent spheres in the pitch black, watching me as I tried to find sleep. The rational part of my mind tried to dismiss these encounters as coincidental, but a primal, instinctual part of me trembled at the thought of what it might signify. I tried to convince myself that it was just an animal, a part of the local fauna. Yet deep down, a gnawing sensation took root. The cat wasn't just watching, it was waiting. Waiting for something that I couldn't comprehend, and that unknown terrified me more than any tangible threat. The suburban serenity I once craved now felt like a deceptive veneer, masking something far more sinister, with the cat as its silent sentinel. A disquieting presence grew, punctuated by the black cat's haunting appearances. My efforts to rationalize these encounters waned with each sighting. It was as if the cat cast a long, dark shadow over my once peaceful existence. I began chronicling these occurrences in a worn, leather-bound journal, hoping to unearth some semblance of logic in what increasingly felt like a descent into the bizarre. One brisk evening, I found myself wandering the neighborhood streets, seeking respite in the night's cool embrace. The moon, a silvery sentinel in the sky, bathed the suburb in a ghostly glow. It was during this nocturnal meandering that the cat materialized yet again. Poised beneath a flickering streetlight, its ebony fur absorbing the lunar light, rendering it a spectral entity. Its emerald eyes, luminescent and penetrating, fixed on me with an unnerving scrutiny that felt almost corporeal. The peculiarities that enveloped my home grew more profound. Lights would dim and flicker, as if responding to an unseen rhythm. Objects, placed with care, would shift position, as though rearranged by invisible hands. At times, I would catch a glimpse of elusive shadows darting at the edge of my vision, elusive phantoms that dissipated when confronted. But it was the nights that harbored a deeper terror. I would often awaken to the soft murmur of indistinct whispers, as if a conversation were being held in hushed tones, just beyond the threshold of perception. Each time, the black cat would be there, outside, its gaze piercing the darkness with an eerie luminescence. Driven by a mix of fear and fascination, I delved into the town's archival records. Hours were spent in the dimly lit corners of the local library, my fingers tracing the yellowed pages of old newspapers. What emerged was a tapestry of unsettling events, each thread connected by the presence of the cat. Reports, often buried in the obscurity of back pages, recounted unseasonal weather anomalies, mysterious fires, and unexplained disappearances, all presaged by sightings of a black cat with eyes that glowed like green fire. The details were sparse, but the implications were clear and chilling. The neighborhood, too, began to change. The once warm smiles of my neighbors were replaced by looks of apprehension. Attempts to discuss the cat were met with evasion or abrupt endings to conversations. It was as if acknowledging the cat was to acknowledge a deeper, darker truth about our little community. Then came a night that remains etched in my memory. Lying in bed, enveloped by the silence of my room, I was startled by a scratching sound. It was subtle at first, but grew in urgency, a sinister summons. With trepidation, I approached the window. There, on the other side of the glass, was the cat. Yet this encounter was different. Its stare was not just intense, but purposeful, as if it bore a silent message meant only for me. The air grew colder, and a sense of dread enveloped me, a primal warning of danger. I retreated from the window, my heart pounding in my chest. When I dared to look again, the cat had disappeared, as if swallowed by the night itself. The relentless cycle of eerie occurrences gradually frayed the edges of my sanity. The suburban dreamscape I had settled in was transforming, night by night, into a realm of unexplained mysteries, all converging on the black cat's ominous presence. My journal, initially a log of curiosity, had become a tome of sleep-deprived ramblings, charting my descent into a realm of paranoia and fear. The morning emerged, shrouded in an unnaturally dense fog, a chilling blanket that smothered the neighborhood in its ghostly embrace. From my window, the world outside appeared like a scene from a forgotten dream, contours blurred and sounds muffled. An oppressive unease settled deep within me, a premonition that something sinister was unfolding. As the daylight struggled feebly against the thick mist, I could feel the weight of unseen eyes upon me. The black cat, its presence now a constant shadow in my life, sat perched on the garden wall. Its eyes, piercing and unrelenting, seemed to glow with a malevolent light against the fog. It wasn't merely watching. It was presiding over the chaos it had wrought, a master of the obscured world outside. Compelled by a desperate need for answers, I stepped into the shrouded streets. The mist clung to my skin, cold and damp, like the touch of a ghost. My footsteps sounded muffled, as if absorbed by the fog, heightening my sense of isolation. As I approached the cat, reality began to distort, the familiar neighborhood contorting into something nightmarish. Houses twisted into grotesque shapes, the street elongated into an endless, winding path, and the cat itself seemed to grow in size. I attempted to flee, to break free from the madness that enveloped me, but each turn, each frantic attempt to escape, only led me back to my house. The neighborhood had become a labyrinth with no exit, the fog a barrier that confined me within its eerie boundaries. The cat was always there, an omnipresent specter, guiding me, haunting me. In my state of near delirium, I found solace only in my journal. My pen became a lifeline, the act of writing a way to anchor myself in a sea of terror. The pages filled with my account of the nightmare, a desperate attempt to document and make sense of the incomprehensible events that had hijacked my life. A new family arrived in the neighborhood, their vehicle brimming with belongings and hopeful aspirations. They were blissfully unaware of the harrowing events that had transpired within the shrouded streets they now called home. Their young daughter spotted the black cat from the car window. She pointed excitedly, tugging at her mother's sleeve. "Look, Mommy, a kitty!" she exclaimed with innocent delight. Her parents, preoccupied with the tasks of moving, offered only a distracted acknowledgement. Unseen by the family, the cat watched intently from its vantage point. Its gaze, knowing and ancient, followed the newcomers as they began to settle into their new home. The neighborhood, with its veiled history and silent secrets, stood as a silent observer to the unfolding story. As the evening drew in and the family retired within their new abode, the black cat remained, a solitary figure in the fading light. The cycle, it seemed, was destined to continue, with the cat as its enigmatic custodian. The fog may have lifted, but the shadows it cast lingered, the truths they concealed waiting to be discovered by those who dared to look.